Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. This time, Heroes and Demons. Yeah, I'm not just describing your podcasters here. That's the name of this episode of Voyager we're going to be talking about for the next bit. Speaking of Heroes and Demons, follow us on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you know there's a lot of Heroes and Demons. We're included among them. Follow us. It's All Been Trek Before there. Lots of fun stuff going on there. We're memeing it up in a very fun way with our Trek folks to keep, so you'll know where we are. And you know what? While you're there, once you jump in with us, tell us how we're doing, especially if it's positive. Jump in the conversation. It's All Been Trek Before on Facebook. Follow us there. Follow this. This is Heroes and Demons, an episode of Voyager here on It's All Been Trek Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trek Before. We've been lost in the wilderness for a long time, but we've got a returning regular host. Who's all here tonight?
This is Steven.
And Keith.
Jimmy-Jerome. Keith hasn't been around for weeks. We lost him somewhere along in the Delta Quadrant, but we've recovered him. He's caught back up to us, which is a more apt metaphor. Keith, we're not going to get you an episode-by-episode playback, but you want to give us some thoughts about how the season's going so far before we get to this episode?
I can't remember.
Okay, perfect.
No, it's okay. It's I don't know. I'm still preoccupied because there was an episode that I kept thinking was like maybe the second or third that I don't think I've seen. I don't know if I missed it somehow. I'm pretty sure that I didn't. I don't.
Keith, have you seen all the Voyager?
I thought that I had. Well,
yeah.
I mean, so far, I would say that the one that we just saw feels the least familiar to me so far. As,
I'm not sure if I'd seen this one.
But it's puzzling to me that the one thing that I was hyping up, like there's a phrase that's supposed to come up, made a reference to it, and I thought it was gonna be like the second or third episode, and I'm surprised that I mean, it's not just that the phrase hasn't come up. I mean, I know very clearly the circumstances around it, and just that scene is just nowhere to be found. Like the situation isn't. It seems like a very much a second or third. How are the crews going to get along? This is so wacky, kind of thing. But just. Yeah. But I guess we were still having moments like that, just like last week, you know, with introducing Seska, which it was a great kind of, oh yeah, here's a specific Maquis out of nowhere, and it was for a purpose. I'm glad it wasn't the same episode. It was kind of like
been in several episodes.
Oh well, yes, still, but that's kind of my point though. It's kind of like propping up for that purpose.
So you've been enjoying the season so far?
Yeah,
and your separate journey.
That's it's yeah, it'll be better once I catch to the point where I don't have to like binge and you know.
Yeah. Well, let's get you up on this episode, Heroes and Demons, first impressions.
Hated it. No, it's all right. I mean, I
hated because Tuvok was taken off the board so early. Is that why you hated it?
It's supposed to be your first impression, Keith, not mine.
Yeah. It's the frustrating kind of holodeck episode, I suppose, when I think about it. But I liked the mystery that came up, and I realized they're setting up the contrivance so that, you know, I don't want to spoil anything for the audience. You know, the doctor is going to be coming.
I would assume the audience has already seen this episode.
Perhaps.
Yeah, probably, but maybe they stumbled upon here. In which case, if this is your first episode, switch to a different one. Go back to Balance of Terror.
You can listen to this as your first episode of It's All Been Trek Before, but at least watch Heroes and Demons first.
That's true. Yeah. Yes. Pause. Yeah, I mean, I've already kind of hinted towards it. Holodeck episode. My first note was holodeck episode. Oh boy. And it hit all of the things I don't like about holodeck episodes. There were still some good moments. I thought the Doctor's arc was still cool. It raised some questions for me, which I think is okay. Those don't necessarily take away from the episode. But I think one of the things, and you guys kind of alluded to it there as well, was, well, right off the bat, Tuvok and Kim and Chakotay are off the board. I shouldn't say they're off the board, but it turns out they are off the board. And we don't see them the rest of the episode. So I definitely, I wouldn't say zoned out, but definitely, if I had been leaning towards my TV, I leaned back very far and started petting Chloe like, here we go, Chloe. Here we go. But I still thought, I thought the last scene was really good. My love for, going past, my love for Janeway continues. Like, This is an episode where I think Mulgrew is working really hard, but still is like
He's always
ingratiating.
working really hard.
Yeah, yeah. She's still ingratiating. She's still like, wow, this is amazing. This science, da da da. The other thing is we get another trope of oh, it's a life form. It's lights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a light. It's like we did this at least twice, and it's the Simpsons did a thing that I know we've talked about before of like, there's only so many. I know the galaxies are infinite and all that, but there's still only so many stories. You're gonna hit sometime. And I will say the other thing, and I've said this already before, and I don't know if this is just like I was done with the TNG guys after 7 years because I'm enjoying the DS9 guys too, but the Voyager guys, I don't know if it's just I like them more or if it's a sunnier disposition or whatever. I'm enjoying DS9 very much as a series, and I like the characters there, but and maybe also it's the thing of it's season 1, so it's like give me more. I want to know more about these people. I want to know how they feel.
Yeah.
And this episode it is really about the Doctor, which I think is also it is fine to a great extent, but that was my extended first impression, which might be more than I'm going to talk about the entire rest of the episode, but maybe not. We'll see.
My first impression will be quick. I really like the Doctor's characterization in this episode, but there was a lot of logic flaws in the story and parts that felt false to me. So, yeah, we'll get into each of those. I would call it an episode with a lot of potential that didn't at all reach what it should have reached.
Were you
First
guys
season
surprised when sorry, Jamie, I'm already creeping it, busting off your first impression. Were you guys surprised that the command and safety protocols weren't working in the holodeck?
I was as surprised as I was that the sun came up this morning. If that tells you anything.
Well, I mean, that's kind of surprising.
I'm 41 years old, and the sun has come up every day of my life before now. So,
well, I mean, like an actual sunny day as opposed to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try not to blow through all my notes right here, but we're here. Actually, I've got two here.
I mean, I got notes before we get to the holodeck malfunctions.
Okay.
But
you know what? Let's do your notes, Jamie. We'll come back to once we get in the holodeck, I'll jump back in.
So we start this episode. They're analyzing a protostar, which made me excited because of Star Trek Prodigy, where there is the protostar, and they've got a ship powered by the protostar. And in this episode, they're trying to find ways to power the ship better with protostar energy, which obviously doesn't work out. I have to assume that in Star Trek Prodigy, they actually came back and massacred these beings, like genocided them in order to power the starship. Is that what happened? Do you think that's the origin story?
Doesn't seem like something they would do. But,
Well,
But right away, there was an issue for me with this episode, and it wasn't genociding energy beings. It was Torres
you're
was
all for,
operating
of
the
course.
transporter. Torres was operating the transporter, and she's like, something's wrong. I don't understand it. Jane was like, oh, it's just do that. And Torres is like, okay, me, the engineer, have to listen to the captain for engineering advice. No, what the heck?
Well, they established like in the first episode or two that Janeway was very technically savvy or something. You know, more of a scientist than.
she does get into
She's
it.
a scientist, but this was an engineering problem, not a science problem.
Jimmy, I thought when you started that with me, the engineer, I thought you were going, me, the engineer, you, captain, you, right.
Well, there's an issue later in the episode that Janeway solves. It seems a science-based problem, and it makes sense. But this specific problem was an engineering problem, and it seemed like a very simple one. So it really made no sense to me that Janeway had to correct Torres on engineering. And there are a number of issues with that in this episode where characters that should be the experts are being corrected by people that shouldn't be the experts.
Yeah.
And that bothered me a lot of the writing. The writing was poor. So we're going to blame for the writing. Oh, I didn't pull up the writer. Directed by Les Landau, one of our regular directors, of course. But this was written by Naren Shankar, who's a familiar name because he wrote some Deep Space Nine for us. Really bums me out. I think he would be better than this. He only has 17 writing credits, but still, he wrote Star Trek Generations video game, and he did 2 episodes of DS9, Babel, in season 1, which I don't remember how good that was. And episode season 4, I think he was like a producer or something on DS9, because I know he was around DS9. As far as Voyager, this is his only Voyager writing credit. Oh, he was a story editor on Next Gen, and has written by First Duty, which was a very interesting episode with Robert Duncan McNeil. Staff writer through season 6, but doesn't have any specific episode credits. And story editor through season 7 of Next Gen. Doesn't have any story credits. So I guess the only conclusion I can draw here is Next Gen's major drop in quality in season 6 and 7 were due to we can blame now on Nair and Shankar. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Only 17 episodes.
We're about to get a reoccurring character on Deep Space Nine named Shakar, and I'm pretty sure he was named after Shankar. Like it's one letter off, but I'm pretty sure it was a tribute to him. So I don't know. But anyway, Kim is missing. We already had we're only 10 episodes of the show. We've already had an episode where Kim's missing. Although that one's from his perspective. But seriously, is Ensign Kim like just going to get lost constantly?
It feels that way, which
we got
a running bit, not the worst thing.
Yeah, I know. If anybody's going to go missing, I buy it as Kim, but still. Now we find out it's the holodeck, and the program is Beowulf, which, to me, Beowulf is a story everybody knows the title of, and very few people can actually tell you what the story is.
Yeah, I have two thoughts on this, and the one just came to me, which is, before watching this episode, when is the last time you guys thought of Beowulf?
Whenever another TV show or movie referenced it.
Yeah, there was a movie, I think, I feel like it was 8-10 years ago. There was a movie version of Beowulf, which wasn't good.
Never saw it with Angelina Jolie, yeah. Never seen it.
Right? Yeah.
I think I remember reading the Grendel story sometime in school.
I
like
know.
The more modern version where it's, from Grendel's perspective, I think.
Oh, God, it was 2007, that movie, going way back.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Zemeckis directed it. Oof.
Okay.
Written by Neil Gaiman. I know we can't talk about that much more. Anthony Hopkins, John Malkovich, Robin Wright, Crispin Glover, Brendan Gleeson. What a cast.
I feel like I must have watched it. Maybe? I don't know.
Greatly enjoyed Janeway's facial expression upon hearing that the program was Beowulf, even before they told her that they thought Kim was dead. Like, she reacted negatively just to the title Beowulf.
In my mind, it's like it's an archetype, and it influenced literature and all that stuff, and I appreciate that. And it's a classic story. I know I read it, or at least most of it, in high school, I think. But yeah, when I hear it, I'm not like, "Ooh, cool." I'm like, "Oh boy." Definitely combined with the holodeck. And I may have asked this question before, but does it always have to be an old Earth stereo and the friggin' holodeck?
Sure does.
Come on. I'm actually, well, my boy Paris, he has, but even that wasn't that a jazz club?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that.
It's a French bar, but it's from hundreds of years ago. It's not.
Yeah. So,
he said it was like contemporary on Earth, but it had been preserved to still be the style of.
I mean, at least that was more fun than this. Beowulf. You know what?
It is a very strange choice, but I was also just, Chakotay rattling that off. The idea of having any of those facts on hand, like anything other than, oh yeah, I think that was like a story like this, but something about Denmark and like maybe even an approximate year, and just I was like, no.
Yeah. I still want to know, and this is probably something we've raised before, but when the holodeck's malfunctioning, just freaking cut power to the holodeck, right? In this instance, it wouldn't have saved Harry, but then we have a science mystery that we can puzzle out a different way. Right. But at least cut power to the holodeck and see if he's in there.
Yeah,
I don't know. Are you sure that that's never been explained in some way? Like they've never given you a reason why they can't do it? I feel like
in this episode they floated that, and then they made up some stupid reason about why they couldn't. It didn't make sense to me.
I mean, they've invaded them, and then later they're like tracking it. Like, we see you, we're talking to you in there. This is my frustration. Holodeck. Also, I hate to victim blame, but Harry Kim, you got what you deserved. So we're picking
Beowulf.
Yeah.
Oh, that's too harsh. That's too harsh.
I think the biggest issue that I would want to try to explain is. Yeah, how the timing reset works for what was going on. So, first of all, the justification for having to go through the scenario and interact with the characters at all, that was going to be a little something they needed to really hammer in better to make that necessary. And afterward, the program having reset in a very particular kind of way, and then not having reset when the Doctor returned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was maybe automatically it's like a saved game thing for his profile. I don't know if that works that way or
Sure, it never really reset. I mean, I guess it resets because the quest is still happening, the Grendel's still coming every night. But they said like Kim came and battled Grendel and then disappeared. So I don't know that
Right.
it fully reset.
Oh, that's true.
Is it
That's true.
because yeah, I've got to yeah. Is it because yeah? I think it's what you said, Keith. Like the doctor goes back, the woman remembers him.
Right. I'm just saying before that the way they made a point of showing the characters going through the same dialogue tree up to a point, for in a way.
Right.
You know, the arrow going by the head and then,
Yeah, I feel like it's because they didn't solve the program that then the program kind of like, oh, the challenge is still there. But I could be wrong.
I'm sure you guys did The Sims. Like I did The Sims when it was version 1 or whatever, or what I knew as version.
Yeah, same. Fairly new for me.
And I know you could just like walk away and it would just keep doing its thing. So maybe that's what happens here. You leave. Well, I guess it depends on what program you pick. And I guess that gets to the programming because this episode makes me think about that part of the holodecks programming. And then also the doctor's programming, which I know because he's essentially a mobile holodeck, right?
Yeah. Well,
the doctor's a mobile hologram. He can't leave sickbay because sickbay has holo emitters in it, but they can transfer him to holodeck because it is holo emitters. They can't transfer him to like the bridge or engineering or anything.
So he, obviously gets attached to the woman, and I should stop saying the woman because her name was Freya.
Yeah, played by Marjorie Monahan.
Yeah.
Best known for Regarding Harry, The Bonfire of the Vanities, 7 episodes of Babylon 5, and this episode of Voyager. Only 24 credits on IMDb.
Yeah, I was right on time.
This is her only Trek credit. I thought she did good.
I enjoyed her.
Yeah.
She's 6 feet tall, exactly. So
really?
fit the physical needs of the role. Yeah, I thought she acted well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do Beowulf, I want her in it. But so is the doctor. I just always wonder about the programming, and I know we talk about this here, and I talk about the Star Wars Minute with the droids. But so, and we talk about the AI part of it, where they're also learning. So, is this the first time he's ever had a girl come on to him?
It would have to be,
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, unless you count Cass, because what she's doing in sick bay certainly seems like a come on half the time. But...
Well, and again, that's just her voice. And I got to tell you, I know a lot of people didn't like her, but I do. And maybe that's the only reason is because the way she talks. Oh, she's cute too. And she's a good character. Thinks this character. But anyway, okay. So those are my questions about so far about the doctor and the.
So, but since you mentioned that, I just. I'm not sure what. Well, all right. I'm already answering some of my own questions. There's just something about having a room full of characters where you know that they're all holograms, and seeing them eat and talk about things like that, and you start to think about the mechanics, which I hadn't really thought about before. So I had several questions. What is happening with the food itself? Is it there's some sort of automated thing where it's not like they have to digest it? I don't know. Is it being converted into something? Thinking the actual technical
energy being converted into more energy.
I guess something like that. And also, does the doctor taste? I saw him sniff at the food they gave him, which
he did end up eating it after they challenged him on it.
Right, but I'm saying that just thinking through the logic of how it would work. I'm sure that part of that is he is an actor. That's one of his reflexes is to I'm supposed to feel hesitant about this. Sniffing it, what is this? And you see him chewing it, and you wonder just within the logic of the world, does the character experience taste or smell or any sort of pleasure? Like during the kiss, does he feel that contact? Things like that.
Seems to.
I think so.
I
mean, that's why Barclay was in there all the time.
Holograms.
That's why Barclay spent hours in there.
Holograms. Apparently are a combination of like transporter and replicator technology in a lot of ways. Although with individuals, it's hard to exactly comprehend how people fit in there if they're holographic people. But like the objects should be a combination of replicator and transporter.
Yes. But so he he's an AI program running, and that's gonna, as the series goes on, of course, raise the idea of how emotions work. We've seen him have emotional responses to things, but then again, can he feel pleasure and pain? Because you'd probably have to be able to do both of those things for him to. I don't know.
And I guess if he's programmed to, right?
Right.
Because that's the conversation on the Star Wars Minute they had when they're torturing the droid in Return of the Jedi. They're like,
Oh yeah.
why would you program a droid to feel pain? What kind of
the burning,
universe is this? But again, that's 2025 planet Earth, really. But yeah, because also when Freya dies, why can't he just be like, computer, back up a minute, back up 10 minutes?
Oh my God, why didn't even think?
I mean,
I never considered that, but yeah,
Wow.
you're right. You should be able to just rewind the program.
Picardo gives this great thing at the end where he's like, well, I wanted to use that name, but I had this moment, blah, blah, blah. But it's like,
About the name Schweitzer.
and I guess I'll offer this counterpoint, my own point. Maybe his thing is like, well, if I don't give that reality, then that diminishes my reality.
Ooh,
as a
like
real thing, as a real person. So
yeah,
and maybe he likes feeling. So maybe there's that too.
Schweitzer was a German and French polymath from Alsace who was a theologian, organist, musicologist, writer, humanitarian, philosopher, and physician. He was a Lutheran minister who challenged the secular view of historical Jesus as depicted by the historical critical method current at this time, as well as the traditional Christian view.
Are you sure you're not on my Wikipedia page? Because that's exactly word for word.
He received the 1952 Nobel Peace Prize for his philosophy of reverence of life.
There you go.
So, yeah, which just means that ethics is nothing other than reverence for life. You should value life.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The doctor would choose that as a name.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'm glad it didn't stick. Maybe it's just retrospect, but I can't imagine him being called Dr. Schweitzer for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen Star Trek Prodigy, Steven, so you know what his eventual name ends up being.
I do, but I've already forgotten.
The Doctor.
I don't know either.
The Doctor is his name. Yes.
Wait, Doctor Who?
No, that's a different The Doctor.
A different show.
No,
Which
but who?
feels a little cheap that they just made him the Doctor after, the other franchise. So jumping back to where we left off, at least in the chronological notes, there are apparently no demons in Vulcan literature, and Chakotay gets a good slam on that about, I guess that's why everybody loves Vulcan literature.
Yeah.
Which was great. They talk about this being a transporter issue, and Kim might be in a transporter, which doesn't end up being the thing, but okay.
It's a good red herring, I would say. Actually, I think it was more of an analogy than a theory.
Is Demons and Heroes one of those Dan Brown books that they made into a movie with Tom Hanks?
Sounds like it could be.
Yes, Angels and Demons, I believe.
Yes. But then we have the scene where Torres, Janeway, and Paris are talking about this, that like Kim and Chakotay and Tuvok are gone. And Paris is the one who's like, no, we have to find them. They must be in there. And I'm like, Janeway's the scientist and Torres is the engineer. Shouldn't they be arguing that they're still out there and they have to be found? Unless you made it personal for Paris of like, Harry's my best friend, I won't give up on him, which they didn't do.
Well, I think that was. I thought that was
odd
implied.
to have Paris be the one in that moment.
No, I mean that's probably the reasoning for having him sort of driving along, but yeah, maybe for people who are just tuning in, they might want to at least have him mention something like that.
Mm-hmm. The Doctor has to read Beowulf to prepare to go in. Can't he just like download it into his brain?
I think that was. I think they weren't. They weren't making it clear. So I just watched this like a few minutes ago. So he asked the computer to compile everything for him. He's going through all the annotations, all the references to it, and then he sort of sits down in front of it. But then Kes starts talking to him. So it's sort of like it makes it look like he's getting ready to do it, but I think he's kind of awkwardly trying to avoid the conversation before she starts.
See, I wanted it to be like Chuck in the TV show Chuck, where he's just like, computer, download it into my brain.
Yeah.
Okay, now I know Beowulf.
So that's like Cliff Notes of the future.
Something like that.
Down, which would have been great when I had to read it.
No, but to Jimmy's point, I was expecting something like that too, for them to explicitly show I'm part of the computer. Done. So that's the gag you always show if you're going to
Yeah.
do it, but they didn't make that clear at all.
Well, and that's why when he like fails at the sword fighting, I was expecting to be like, okay, computer, download sword fighting into my brain.
Right,
Okay, now I'm good
right.
at sword fighting, right?
Mhm.
But it just I
But
don't
they
know.
don't do that. They don't. It seems like he has to read Beowulf on a screen. It doesn't make sense for what he is.
No.
I don't know if that's just like a writing issue, a direction issue. Would it be? I don't. That's or maybe to try to humanize him more or something.
Yeah, I mean, you
Like
could
that.
explain like it will mess up his programming if we start downloading additional aspects to it. So if he doesn't
Okay.
learn in a certain way, but they don't bother to do anything like that.
That's pretty good actually.
Well, and that it gets that same
I should
old
write
thing
for
of,
Star Trek.
what's the sentience of these characters, these things, and the
Right.
Don't. I mean, the Doctor's developing it because they've left him on, but the other holograms
Right.
don't have sentience.
Right, which makes me just be like, I don't care. But
Well, this begs the question, if Barclay goes back to the holodeck to have sex with the same hologram for
Mhm.
30, 40, 50 hours straight,
Right.
oh, not straight, but over months,
Straight.
do they start to develop sentience?
In a row.
How many hours do you have to have the program on before they develop sentience?
I'll tell you one thing they develop is a headache because they would be like, nope, not this time, buddy.
Well, so now we're getting into some Severance territory where they're on to the holodeck when Barclay enters, and then when he leaves, they turn off. But then he comes
Right.
back, and it feels like no time's passed for them.
Exactly.
I will say that. Oh wow, I didn't know what that. All right, I don't want to get distracted there. Sentience wouldn't necessarily be time based. That would have to be a function of the way that the program was built
Right.
to begin with. It has to do with the AI, the machine learning, and the AI aspect of it.
I do think the Doctor would automatically be a more complicated hologram than what's in the holodeck, because the holodeck programs are just like set for a story, where the Doctor is an emergency medical hologram that has to deal with so many different scenarios and be ready to adapt to each one.
Right.
Freya immediately is giving the Doctor more respect than most of the crew, which is probably why he takes to her so easily.
That's a good point.
Also, so they asked the Doctor to talk about his heroic at the dinner in the Viking Hall, to ask about his heroic accomplishments. He starts talking about measles, and they all act like, "Oh, that's not a heroic story." And it's like, how they don't even understand what the story's about, do they? They would have no context for any of the words he was using. So
I
why
wonder.
would they even have any opinion on his story other than to just be, "Oh, I would think their natural reaction would be like, I don't know any of these words. I must be in awe of this man who knows more than me." Not,
Yeah.
"Oh, that story is lame," when they don't know what he's talking about.
That was strange. It made some sense that the one character who was the treacherous one was like, oh, I don't want to be impressed by anything he does, but the king also just gave him that sort of condescending, oh, that's unique.
Yeah.
I don't know. You would think that they would actually, the characters would infer that there was some sort of battle involved rather than, you didn't mention a sword, so
Sounds like
therefore.
It sounds to me like the way I'm reading it, if I'm them and have no context of medical whatever, is he battled an enemy called the measles that wiped out 6 people and then was spreading and taking out other people, and he single-handedly stood and defeated them. They should be impressed.
Right. Yeah.
Well, again,
So
this
the
is
king,
a parallel to 2025 America, where people are unimpressed with people fighting against measles.
So you mentioned the king. That's Hograr or Horthgar, played by Michael Keenan, best known for 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, in a character in season 6 and 7. Plays the same character in season 6 and 7, and then this 1 episode of Voyager, as well as 5 episodes of Dallas and 1 episode of Remington Steele. 44 credits. Clearly, like 1 and 2 off guest spots are what he's best known for. He's not super well known, but we will see him without the makeup on DS9, without the fake beard and stuff. His conversation with the Doctor made me think, man, it's gonna hit home to the Doctor when this king's talking about lineage and his parents and all that. Like, the Doctor doesn't have a childhood, doesn't remember a childhood, doesn't have parents to remember. That's got to be a real blow, and I wish they'd given Bob Picardo a little bit more time to process that.
Mm-hmm.
I was excuse me. I'm glad you mentioned that, because at the time I was starting to get impatient with that bit of a conversation, kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, so to speak, or wanting the story to move along. But I think something Steven said earlier too. This being an episode that's probably meant to characterize the Doctor. They're giving him an episode to flesh out his character somewhat, and that was a moment that kind of slipped past me there.
The Doctor loses an arm and the tricorder, but then I guess they're able to recover the tricorder. because it's the arm that had the tricorder. I don't know. Why is Paris the one manning the transporter to rescue the Doctor? Where's Carrie?
The same thought.
That is a Lieutenant Carrie scene.
I had the same exact thought. Like, this doesn't make sense. And also,
either Torres or Carrie, right?
Yeah,
if Torres is available, and we're not going to see Carrie for a few seasons, but
and maybe they are making our point and agree with us because they're like, emergency to the sick bay, and it's like beep 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 beep. He's hitting like 15, 20 buttons, whereas I think it was Voyager where they beamed Seska right into the bed, or so it appeared. But he's like beep 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 beep, and it's taking him forever. It's like, what is the deal?
What's the deal with Paris being on transporter duty? I
thought that was purposeful.
I liked the arm thing. I thought that was neat and interesting, even if I didn't fully buy the technology aspect of it.
Yeah.
There was a really cool shot of the bridge looking up at Janeway from inside a console where we could see the whole ceiling and like stars in a window above on the ceiling of the bridge. And it just reminded me, like, Next Gen did not build the Enterprise D ceiling until the movie Star Trek Generations. So we never got like those types of shots. Whereas it's nice that the bridge was fully built on Voyager, that you can do like an up angle shot and see the ceiling. I like the design of the Voyager bridge. And I thought that was a neat. Good on Leslie and Al for showing us that.
I was just thinking that might be one of your like Jimmy type answers where you answered your own question in the sense of that is what happened to Lieutenant Carey, that in the budget, that shot meant that they couldn't have, because Tom Paris
Leslie and Al said, I need a ceiling, and they're like, where are we going to find the money for that? Well, Josh Clark's not coming back for a while.
Yeah, or any. I mean, there's a. Oh, okay, yeah, lots of actors in the holodeck. See, I never thought about things like that before. I mean, before this podcast, I mean, it just never would have crossed my mind that that's the reason why they don't have more of the main cast showing up and doing things.
So Janeway solving this issue does make sense because it's a science-based problem. Mm-hmm. So finally, after Paris operating the transporter and Paris believing them alive, and Janeway telling Torres Engineering, we finally had one character that was doing their actual job and fitting in their actual skills. When they beam the Doctor back in for this mission, I understand we have 3 senior officers on the line. I mean, nobody really cares about Kim, but Chakotay and Tuvok are very important and valuable. And so you have to take the risk of sending the Doctor back in. But he's also your only medical staff besides this nurse that he's only been training for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So don't you at least copy his holographic program before you send him in? Like, can't you copy him?
I started thinking that just as you started that question, that sort of popped in my head as well. I was like, wait.
It seems like Janeway's like, well, you got to stay solid. So if they kill you, and we don't have a Doctor anymore.
and why would that kill him? They don't really explain that either. I mean, it's not that his body shouldn't work that way.
No,
I mean, he shouldn't even really need a body. And they showed when he lost that part of an arm somehow, they still fixed it. He came back out of it, and they just rebooted it or whatever. I'm not sure. They didn't even explain how that would work, but just restored it. Maybe a restore point.
So Freya dies for the Doctor, and we get this really emotional scene where the Doctor's leaning over her. But the man who kills her, Unferth, played by Christopher Neame, best known for License to Kill, The Prestige, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, and Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 video game. And the Mummy thing, he's additional crew. He's not even an actor. So, okay. He's been in some Doctor Who stuff. Shada. I don't know. Anyway, we'll also play a German general in 2 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise. Not a well-known actor. But my point is, he kills Freya. And then he just stands there and, like, lets the Doctor mourn over Freya. Because this whole thing was, I'm going to kill the Doctor and take the energy thing. And I know he takes the energy thing, but, like, how is the Doctor even allowed to have this moment right now?
I blame Harry Kim, just like I do for this whole episode. He probably programmed it that way. Idiot.
Unferth was just a tool?
Yeah, he's like, well, I know he kills anybody he can, and then he doesn't know what to do after that. They're like, do you want to add anything else? No, he just kills people.
Unferth does say that our 30 best warriors are dead, so we know Unferth's at least the 31st best warrior in this small community.
Still beat Freya. Still beat her.
No, Freya's probably like the second or third best warrior, but she's a woman, so they didn't let her.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then when the doctor comes to confront Unferth in the hall, Unferth doesn't even defend himself. He just stands there and lets the doctor like threaten him.
Yeah.
And like he's gonna kill him, but he doesn't. It just doesn't make sense.
Because everybody else there is freaking out. And I'm like, why? You're all warriors. But again, Harry Kim programming.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite possible that they're supposed to respond to the protagonist in the scene in a certain way like that.
Yeah.
Apparently the light creatures understand English. I mean, I know there's a whole thing where the doctor's like, I'm not sure if he understood me or just got my tone. No, the way they presented it, he must have understood what the doctor said.
Maybe.
I'd call the light thing he based on nothing, but...
No, I'm just saying that he seemed to be making a show of physically gesturing in some way. You know, here's this
yeah, but that
creature
presumes
being...
the light creature has eyes, but it's a light creature. So why would it have eyes?
What do you mean?
The light creature presumably has some way to sense the environment around it.
Right.
But we certainly didn't see eyeballs. And I wouldn't think a light creature would have eyeballs. So any gesture wouldn't necessarily be sensed.
Perhaps. That's another one of those things you don't really think about when in the writing.
Mm.
Or rather, the translation between writing and actual like visual production of things.
Yeah.
Because they kind of made him the way that they tumble around. It almost made it look like they were kind of like scampering and through the space when they let it go. And it was just kind of like, let's put it on the view screen. It's kind of going. Yeah.
We're finally at Harry Kim in the episode, barely at the end, in costume. They made him a costume just for that one little line. And then Janeway gives the doctor accommodation, but she doesn't have a name to put on it. Okay. I guess it's kind of nice because Janeway's acknowledging him as an individual, but it felt like she did the whole episode. I would have liked to see some evolution of her in this episode because, granted, the way she treats him is an evolution here from the way we've seen her treat him before, but we never saw the journey. We just saw that and then this. I don't know. It would have been nice if they'd framed this episode around the Doctor earning his personhood. Like Janeway treating him as an object, Kes defending him, the Doctor defending himself, some examples of how is a person. I mean, Bob Picardo acted the heck out of the stuff they gave him. It was meaty. They gave him some meaty stuff, and he did a great job. But the writing around that stuff was not up to par at all.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that the writing was to justify it in that sense, but I will say that I feel this series feels like it's been. They started from a point of serialization, like kind of jumping off of where DS9 had already gotten to. Because I remember like the first couple of seasons of DS9, where they were clearly having to serialize things in a more a clearer way than they were in TNG and prior to that. But we would still see them sort of take steps backward that didn't quite make sense. And the characters, suddenly, Odo and Quark would make some sort of jab at each other that didn't quite make sense following the development they made in like a few episodes earlier, or Kira and her attitude with the Kardashians, things like that. But here, maybe they were giving the audience credit for having been following along up to this point. I don't know. I mean, it'd been a while back since Janeway had that moment where she stopped and asked the Doctor what he needed.
Yeah. I mean, so I know with Voyager, they talk a lot about the studio was paying attention to them and telling them they weren't allowed to do serialization. Whereas
What?
DS9, they got away with it because they were ignored. Voyager, TNG was so big. I mean, it was like the #1 show on television when it went off the air. And Voyager hit the ground running and was the #1 show on satellite television for a while on UPN. And DS9 just overlapped and kind of got ignored. Even though right now, yes, Netflix viewers and young people, DS9 is like the one that's taken off, which I've read and heard that DS9 was filmed in 16:9 so that they could upgrade it to HD. But for some reason, they haven't seemed to have found the budget. I mean, Enterprise aired in HD, and they've upgraded original and Next Gen, which weren't made that way, but they adjusted and did it. But DS9 and Voyager, I haven't heard anything about them getting upgraded, and I believe they were filmed in such a way they could be, which sucks. I want them upgraded to HD.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially because they're the only 2 Star Trek shows. There's like 12 Star Trek shows now, and there are only 2 that they haven't upgraded to HD.
But what were we just talking about before that? Serialization.
I don't know. I'm knowing my notes. So.
No, are you saying that they weren't allowed to serialize Voyager?
Yes. Anytime they tried, and I know there are serialization elements throughout the series,
It doesn't make
but
any
anytime
sense.
they tried to build in more serialization, the network cracked down and said, you can't do that.
Huh.
They had a network. DS9 and Next Gen never had a network. Voyager had a network, and the Voyager network said no.
Still doesn't make any sense.
Well, there was no serialization on TV at this time.
Hmm.
They wanted people to be able to just tune in any week.
But they're literally they're literally having a linear journey. It does.
I know. Any other notes before we get to the rankings?
I really like the last scene with, and I said this earlier, but the EMA, the Doctor and Janeway. I like that. Like I said, it's the holodeck, so it's like, well, is any of this earned? But the whole, well, hopefully we'll have they talk about adventures in the future, and I heard that name was spoken, it was painful, blah blah blah, but I still enjoyed that moment, whether it was earned or not. They got me, so I did like that. As much as I would rail against pretty much the rest of the episode, I thought that worked. And the Doctor I appreciate, and Janeway's curiosity and everything always excites me. So, and Kate Mulgrew's voice is just, for me, is addictive. It is just so great. So yeah
Absolutely. Okay, well, let's get to the
I'm
rankings.
sorry.
Then.
I did have an alternate episode.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, I did too.
Let me see. Oh, if we're gonna do past stuff and blah blah blah, let's make it Excalibur. If we're gonna have a sword and sorcery kind of a thing, just do Excalibur. Kim, come on, buddy.
See, I think Beowulf's more interesting because we're less familiar with it. But my alternate was, let's see more of the story of Beowulf playing out, and maybe make Freya a light creature and have the Doctor interact with her in that context, instead of just these like brief scenes in the holodeck and more of this exterior stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Steven probably went like that though.
No, actually, it's kind of speaks to the idea that they could have done that with anything. It didn't need to be the Beowulf story, because they didn't really progress anywhere meaningfully with the characters, or the past the point of there being a scene with a hull and there being a monster that's coming. They could have just done literally anything else.
Okay, who are you having a drink with?
This goes against what I've been saying the whole time, or maybe it doesn't. With Harry Kim, and I'm going to tell him 100 other better holodeck ideas the next time he goes in there. And if I can't dissuade him, I'm going to crack him over the head with a vodka bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very violent drink. I know you guys thought I was going to go with Freya, but no, I'm going with Harry Kim.
I'm going with Freya. She seemed cool and compassionate and brave and awesome warrior, and she stood up for what she believed in, even to her death. So I'm going with Freya.
She stood tall because, as we learned, she's 6 feet tall.
She's 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
She's taller than me.
Oh, the Doctor. I start to ask him if he even has drink preferences, if he can actually taste anything, etc.
There. Who are you annoyed by?
The guy I'm having the drink with, that I was going to break a bottle over his head, Harry Kim. This is just my anti-Beowulf, etc. And yeah, poor program.
Yeah, I'm going with Unferth because he was awful.
Yeah, he was too. That's not a bad choice at all.
Same. I mean, he's supposed to be annoying, but he was still annoying.
Unferth? Yeah. Who inspired you this episode, if you were inspired at all?
The Doctor.
Yeah, me too.
His journey, and Picardo's just great. So yeah, I enjoyed that. Like, even with my quibbles and whatever you want to say, like, oh, it's Kim's programming's terrible and blah blah blah, and should be this. He still sucked me in enough to be like, all right, you're making me feel about this fake character in this fake situation. So you got me. So yeah, I'm inspired by him. Yeah.
I'll say Kess. That's
that's a good one too.
Yeah. The perceptiveness, or really even the compassion, or the taking the steps to even dig into what she was perceiving in the Doctor. And the way it's almost like she is an AI programmer, in the sense of her just looking in and trying to figure out what's going on with him. Yeah, the pep talk.
Makes sense. Okay, so ranking the episode, let's go with Phage.
Worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's worse.
Oh, that is time and again.
I think if that episode wasn't like we just watched this episode, like there's two the same episodes back to back, but not as good. And I'm gonna go below still.
Yeah.
I'm going to go below as well. Which makes Heroes and Demons the worst episode of the season thus far.
Already. Wow.
Yeah.
11 episodes in. So, next week, we're going back to Deep Space Nine for part 2. The die is cast. Now rejoined with his former mentor, Garrick is ordered to interrogate Odo about the secrets of his people, while the joined Romulan Cardassian attack fleet moves towards the Founder's homeworld on a mission of destruction, and spoils Keith, who's not caught up on Deep Space Nine, for a series that aired 30 years ago. Until then, live long.
And for God's sake, stay away from the holodeck and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?